So in order to control the velocity end effector, we're going to have to do a lot of inverses of our matrix J. We want to know what is J inverse. So it's good to remind ourselves what happens if you've got a square matrix A and you want to find the inverse. Well, in order to do that, A inverse is just going to be 1 divided by the determinant of A, multiplied by something called the adjugate, or sometimes the adjoint or the adjunct of the square matrix, which, to help you out, is just the transpose of the cofactor matrix. And I imagine that's as helpful for you as it was to me. So here's a reminder. It looks like this, where all the entries in here are going to be determinants themselves. And so, you can probably remember the process for this, but what we really care about is where we can't do that. And that's all determined by the determinant of A. So in order to do that, we have to remind ourselves, how do we do determinants of larger matrices? And so I venture guess that you remember pretty well how to do our 2x2. That's why we practice that. If you want to do a 3x3, then what we do is we expand along one row or column of this matrix. And so here I'm going to expand along the top row. And so I take my A, and then I multiply that by the remaining entries. So I'm going to cross out these entries here, and I just have EFHI, and that's the determinant of that term. And then I go to my next term, which is my B, and I cross out anything next to him. And so I get a D, a D, an I, an F, and a G. And that gives me my terms here. And then finally, I take my C term, I cross out these, and all I have remaining is my DE, GH. And so if I expand that out, then I get these 6 terms here, which isn't terrible, but something we can do. A 3x3 isn't too bad. The nice thing, if you want to say it that way, about this is that we can expand that into a 4x4 matrix. So in a 4x4 matrix, again, I can choose to expand along this direction. So for my first term, it's going to be A, and I'm going to multiply it by everything not in here. So this term right here goes right there. And then I alternate signs. So it's A minus B plus C minus D. And so I just continue that onwards. I take my B term, and I cross out everything here, and I've got my everything remaining here, this EI, GKO, HLP, and so forth. So I take my C term, here's my C term, remove all these terms, and I've got EF, H, IJL, MNP. And finally, I could do that with my D term. Here's a minus the D term, and it's hidden on the side here, but we cross out these, and we got EFG, IJK, MNO. If you multiply that all out, you get this term here, which isn't quite as friendly. There's 24 terms in here, and we could extend this on to higher dimensions, and we're not. So let's go back and think about what we really need. Well, we need to have psi. This psi lives in R6. So Euclidean dimension of 6 by 1. And so this JQ needs to have 6 linearly independent columns in order to be invertible, and in order to achieve arbitrary motions in linear velocity and angular velocity. So we need to think about what is the rank of a matrix. Well, the rank of the matrix is the number of linearly independent rows. So we know that our J of Q, that's going to be in R 6 by n. And so this rank of JQ, it's always going to be less than or equal to the smaller those dimensions. So 6 or n. So you can never have more than 6 degrees of freedoms, and you can never have more than n linear independent rows. An interesting thing about robots, if you have revolute joints, is this rank of JQ is not constant. It varies as a function of Q, where Q is your configuration. And so we're looking for places where this rank of JQ is less than the minimum of 6 and n, because those areas are our singularities. Remember, our picture of a singularity is if you've got a real number line and your output at a singularity, that's when suddenly your plot is going to, we're trolling along suddenly at asymptotes. And asymptotes up to infinity. These are singularities, that's a divide by 0. And those are things that we want to avoid and figure out how to find. We're very concerned about these singularities. That's when we take the j of q, and the determinant is equal to 0. Singularity is configurations from which certain directions of motion are unattainable. We can't move in certain directions. Bounded end-effector velocities may correspond with unbounded joint velocities. In order to move in a certain direction, we have to move infinitely fast with the joints, which is impossible. These singularities are often on the boundary of our manipulator workspace, and they're points in the workspace that are unreachable under small perturbations of our link parameters. So remember, our square matrix is singular when its determinant is equal to 0, which we can write as the determinant of j of q is equal to 0. And one of the things that we can do is we can take our Jacobian. Remember, this Jacobian is giving us our psi is equal to Jacobian times q dot. This can be split up into our velocity and our angular velocity. So similarly, we can split up our Jacobian. So how we're going to split this Jacobian is into two items. We've got our Jacobian for the position degrees of freedom and our Jacobian for the orientation degrees of freedom. And that's because we're going to assume that we have a spherical wrist. So we can take this whole Jacobian then, we can split it into multiple parts here. We'll call this J11, J21, J12, and J22. So the trick that we're going to do is we are going to decouple our singularities by using a spherical wrist. So here's our spherical wrist. Remember, it's got this special point in the middle called the wrist center. We've got our roll around Z3. We've got our pitch around Z4. And then our yaw around our Z5. And so how you build this is they're all going to be cross products around Z3, Z4, and Z5 rotating. And then we're just looking at the distance from our origins to that end effector. We can simplify this quite a bit by choosing that all these points are our wrist center. And then we get a Jacobian, which is just where are these three axes of our robot, Z3, Z4, Z5. And so if we grab this J22 and look at where the singularity is that, so when I take the determinant of this, I can expand along any column or any row. I want to expand along this column because it's only got one entry in it. So it's going to be plus the first entry minus the second entry plus the third entry. So we only have to do the third entry. That's 1 times the determinant of this matrix that's right over here. So that's going to be negative S4 times S4, S5 minus C4 times C4, S5. And so I can work this out. I can handle this. It's going to be negative S4 squared S5 minus C4 squared S5. So I can pull those together. I've got negative 1 that's times my S4 squared plus C4 squared times S5. Well, this term right here is going to be 1, so I just have negative S5. So let's animate that. Here's our spherical wrist. I'm going to build that out, and let's draw that robot. So here's my spherical wrist, and I'm just going to show not the velocity, but the angular velocity, because I only care about this J22. So this here is called the manipulability of the matrix, but we can see that it's 3D here. As I move that towards that singular configuration, that's when this becomes narrower and narrower. You can see that now it looks like a little pancake. As I bring that up farther, it's even more pancake-like. And then when I get all the way up here, it's going to completely shrink. And so there is my singularity. And so I can no longer achieve at least 1 degree of freedom. And if you think about it, I can roll around this axis and I can pitch along here, but I cannot come in this axis. There's no rotation that I can do in this axis here. So I can pull out of that configuration. Now I have this singular configuration if I'm facing all the way down into itself. That's not quite as realistic. So where it's intersected with itself. Now if we look at the singularities for velocity, this thing is always in some singular. It only has 2 velocities that it can achieve at all points. That's just part of this. So the next one we're going to look at is the elbow manipulator, and we're only going to look at what does it contribute towards the reachable velocity, so add the position part. So that's going to be J11. That'll be the top 3 rows of a Jacobian here. So I can take that, and again, I can multiply that out and get that. So I'll work that out now so you can see that, and then let's look at a demo. And so one of the singularities that we can get here is if that S3 is going to give us a 0. So that's if it's pointing straight out or if it's pointed inwards. The other we can get is if R2 and R3 are 0, but that would be a silly robot to make. And the final one is the Ballerina Pose. And that's if these angles are such that the tip of it comes back to its axis of rotation. So you can see we're tipping out by theta 2. Over here, moving R2 distance out there. Then we continue on, we move theta 3 back, so theta 2 plus theta 3 gives our cosine times R3. If those things sum up to give us a 0 in here, we're in this ballerina pose, and so we're no longer moving. Now an interesting thing in these robots is if we add in a little offset. So if you put a little offset such that this d distance that we are off from the axis is equal to d2 plus d3, well, we put that offset into our Jacobian. We take our original Jacobian and then we put our d2 and d2. We take this and we still get the same determinant. And so we have this point here that is still unreachable. It's just been offset by d. And so even under little perturbations of it, we get this range where we can't reach anymore. We have this direction we can't move. Now we can do something similar with our spherical manipulator. So D3 is the extension that we do if we just define that all the way from this wrist center outward, well, all the way from Z1 outwards. Then we can get our Jacobian matrix as follows. If we look at just the position entries, so the top 3 rows, then we can take the Jacobian of that and we can express it. And so when we express it, we finally get out that it's just Q3 squared times the sine of 2. So let's take a look at that demo. So we'll extend it outwards, and you can say this is a singular position. It's only got 2 degrees of freedom right in here. As soon as we rotate that second joint out of there, then we get a 3-dimensional. But when we get over here into that singular position, now the forbidden direction, you can't make any motion in this direction. We can only roll in this direction and extend outwards. Now it gets even worse if you have your D3 0. As that D3 goes 0, see how this ellipse here is shrinking? And right here it'll go down to nothing. And so now the only thing that we can do is you can generate a velocity straight outwards. We can't generate any velocity in this direction or in this direction. We can rotate around there, but there's some forbidden directions. Whereas we expand this outwards, now we've got our full 3 degrees of freedom. Our final example is a Scara manipulator. So we've got 2 revolutes and a prismatic joint. And so again, we're only caring about the position of it, and we can take this and we can expand the J11. It's easiest if we expand that bottom row, and we can pull that outwards. I'll work out the math so you can see that. And here is that Scar robot. And again, we only care about its velocity matrix. You can see right here, it is in this configuration zone where it can't not generate any more velocity outwards. So as soon as we kink that second degree of freedom, we can get a little bit more motion. We can always do motion that's in the Z direction, The only thing that we're restricted is sometimes there's configurations where we lose the ability to move outwards radially. And so we can see that's here. We can hit that point. And that's true for any configuration of our theta 1. We're always going to have that singular position. And so the book has these demonstrations here where you can see, it talks about what this manipulability ellipsoid is. We made a little demonstration so you can try that out yourselves. Just go online and play with the manipulability ellipsoid of a robot arm.